Mental embellishments can happen. Recognize how and when they do and why they do by being consciously aware and mindful in those moments. And don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. This is your personal journey. This is your exploration. This is your goosebumps. This is your research.
Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey, welcome to Constance Messmer. That's me. I'm really excited you're here. I want to talk to you today about mental embellishments. I hope you enjoy our time together. Listen, I know that when you start kind of connecting with spirit, and whether that's in your own time or doing readings or getting guidance for other people, you're going to set the intention because we've already talked about that. It's really important that you set the intention of who you want to talk to, how you want your session to go, being an open, clear, perfect vessel for the information to come through, and that you remember, I will to will thy will, and if thy will be difficult, keep me strength, keep me clear, and keep my ego out of it. If you're doing like healing work or any kind of work where you're relaying information for others, intention is great, but sometimes when you're in the process of giving a message or even getting your own guidance, somewhere along the way, you might stumble across a mental embellishment. An example of that is sometimes when you're writing the information down in your own journal or you're delivering information for someone else, whether you do work as a psychic or, even reader of any kind of tool of divination. You might be going along and along, and because you've listened to my work, you're really connected to the clear sensation of the heart. Is how does this feel? It feels like I'm on fire. The information is coming smooth. I'm really connected to this thread. I'm hearing it, I'm seeing it, I'm feeling it, I'm knowing it, whatever the way it's coming to you, the information. And then all of a sudden you start thinking in the moment of the information and also listening, co-listening to the information as it's coming through. And you can most certainly do that, being more present than and less of a channel where you're just letting the information flow through you. But when you start to listen to the content, you might all of a sudden try to interpret it or understand it in a different way than if you just let it ride. And when that happens, or even when you're writing it in a journal dialogue discussion with your own soul or above, um, when that happens, you might trip yourself up and get off the thread of truth to try to comprehend with your mind what's being delivered as information. Um, I've had this happen to me long ago when I was first starting out in reads for people, when I was delivering the information, while at the same time I was tuning into them to say, do you understand? Do you understand? And I would still listen to spirit, but I would also kind of grok and get that they weren't getting it. It would come to me it didn't even matter. I didn't have to have my eyes open to see if they had a blank dull look on their face. It was really knowing that the information like hit them and bounced back to me. So I understood when they were not getting it, absorbing it, resonating with it. And so sometimes what I would do is I would go into my own repertoire to interpret the information in a different way so that they can hear it and understand it. And the problem with that was, um, left to my own devices, I might not use the best examples. And so I learned really quickly when they were like, no, now it really doesn't make sense, or no, that doesn't make sense. I would notice the thread of connection was kind of disrupted by my own agenda of getting interpretation across in my words. So after a while, I learned like, oh, I need to go back up to spirit to say, you need to say it differently. They're not getting it. Because even though you might be on this thread of, connection, there might be moments when it's just not landing for them because of the way you're interpreting the information. Now, we have to interpret the information sometimes because sometimes it comes to us as a vibrational frequency, even in our own time of connecting with higher realms of spirit, God, angels. It can come across as claircognizance or a vibration of truth or knowledge. And in those situations, we do tend to run it through the brain and interpret. And so you've heard me say this time and time again, the mind loves to embellish, but the heart knows the truth. So when you're posing a question, recognize it's the first thing that comes back to you is the answer. And it will resonate in your truth center of your heart, right? As a sensation, physical or emotional of lightness, goodness, feeling right, a wave of yes, 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 or it just feels right, as opposed to feeling flat or disconnected, or all of the sudden it was going along and then it's like a thread spinning off a spool where the information is coming, 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 and then it just drops because you've lost your connection. Really, you've kind of unplugged. Do you remember the old operators plugging in and making the connection? You kind of came unplugged for a little bit. So plug back in, go back up, and say, "Wait, let me get that. Let me get clearer on that. Let me take a breath and tune into my heart because I feel like I'm going off on a mental embellishment." No, what do mental embellishments look like? Sometimes they can look like you're giving information to someone and you're trying to emphasize the info with your own adjectives or whatnot, or even maybe spirit. Or even in your own scenario when you're sitting in your own dialogue time, that you're trying to understand it and you're throwing in kind of your own experience on top of it. And so it's important that you notice the thread of connection to your heart center and your heart's truth. Welcome back. Here I am. So I remembered what it was about. So sometimes when we've come across some great information and we see a little thread from spirit, like, oh, they're showing me you on a stage, or yeah, they're showing me you on a stage, and then we run with it, right? Or we pick up a wish from them, which is kind of a projection. I'll get into that in the future in the next episode. We run with it and we think, oh, they're supposed to be on a stage, they're supposed to be this big whatever it is. And really what spirit was saying was it was symbolic. They were supposed to be, they upstage themselves, or they put themselves on a pedestal in moments where they might need to, they don't, and when they don't, they do, and vice versa or whatnot. There was more to the message, and it's about going back to source as opposed to you going into the person and reading the content from kind of that place of that's not connected to the truth. So I remember when I was doing the work, spirit would say, wait, like they'd give me information about my own life, and then I'd want to be done and run off and like take it to the next level. And they're like, no, you got to stick around. Let us have the last word. Let us have the last word. And that was a great and important lesson, because sometimes they would only give me part of the information and I thought it was the end of the information, and the rest of the information had to do more with execution and how it was going to happen, or what I might watch for, or other guidance and help, or what I needed to do to get there, those next steps. And so how does that come in as mental embellishment is when I close off the session with spirit too early, and then I ruminate on it or I ponder it without them. And I have this internal dialogue of like, okay, this is it. They told me this. And they're like, oh my God, Constance, we didn't tell you that at all. You just went off on your own little mental embellishment tangent. So I've learned these things the hard way, which is what we often do, right? And so there's been were there 2 times, maybe 2 or 3 times, not many times, where I had to stop mid read for people and go, wait a second, back up. Not that, this. Do you get it now? And they were like, yeah, I get it now. So it's being compassionate with yourself, and also having integrity when you're aligning with this work and trying to get information, access information for yourself and especially others, really aligning with the truth. And that is in your heart center. And so that's why it's important, not only with setting the intention and delivering the highest truth and the highest good for the person, whether it's you or them, but to also really take the time before sessions, before, to really ground in your own center and send love out from your heart as an energy form, or just sitting in that space of stillness. You can do my open heart meditation that is on the YouTube channel. You can, and I think I put it on the podcast early on. Yes, I did. And you can come up with your own way of tuning into your heart center to ready your vessel of your soul so that you can be a clear channel all the way through. But you're always going to kind of be listening to document, like, or feeling your way along with the vibration of, is this still, am I still connected? Am I still connected? Listen, when I brought this topic to spirit, I took so many notes. So I'm going to give a little look and see. Um, Da, 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 da. Uh, oh, right. I wanted to say, the interesting thing about the heart knows the truth and the mind loves to embellish, especially because this work is all processed through the mind, right? When we're having clear experiences, they're all processed through the mind, except for clear cognizance, which is just knowing, an instantaneous knowing. And so all the rest have to be, like, oh, I'm seeing a vision. And that goes through we see with the mind, right? Or the brain. So all of this stuff, the mind is triggered, right? And also that's where the ego resides, right? This whole who are we, what we're capable of, what we kind of want to have control over, all of those things, reason is there and everything. And so it really becomes this fertile ground for embellishments unless you get versed at using as many of your soul sense as possible to relay the information, again, whether to yourself or other, or even when you're just connecting out in nature with trees or birds or animal friends or the planet or whatever. Ask when you're out and you're going, I think I'm hearing like some kind of, I'm feeling something. I need to, where's it coming from? Clear sensation. Where's it coming? Oh, it's over here. Oh my God, there's this big, beautiful tree. And then lean into it. Be like, okay, I think I want to try hearing you. Do you have anything to say to me? And be open to what you hear and know as verbal communication in your mind, right? And then you can say, am I making this up? Now you're asking that of your soul. You're asking that of source energy. Am I making this up? Am I embellishing? And, you'll usually get a feeling of no, you aren't, or a knowing, or a no. And you might cry because it's so profound and bizarre and like unexpected. And yet also you resonate with it and know it because you're like, oh my God, yeah. And was I a fairy in another life? Or am I so completely connected to nature? And yeah, 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 yeah. And aren't we all? And shouldn't we be? But maybe you really get it and see it and feel it and vibe it. And so, yeah, you're talking to the trees or the rocks or the animals or creatures, and you're feeling the vibe of the planet. So, all of these things you can always check and say, am I making this up? Is this real? Is this an embellishment? And then if you do get it is one, ask why. Why is this happening? Or ask your own self, like, why am I, allowing myself to go there? I want it faster. I want it different. Remember, overeagerness can be a block to psychic development. So can, it's fear, disbelief, and overeagerness. So don't have any of those stand in your way. And as you expand your consciousness and go into your higher awareness of connecting on this soul level to all that is, even yourself, especially yourself. And then also too, just patience, persistence, and practice, practice, practice. Taking the time to focus inward, to have these internal experiences of communication and connection so that you can really strengthen all these muscles that I'm asking you to build in this arena of communication efforts, right? And experience. I just will reiterate from my notes, the second you begin to try and rationalize what you're getting or you doubt it, the mind jumps in and supports that effort. Taking your awareness down paths of learned behavior, expectations, grandiose plans, tangents, the mind can have a field day, right? Who do you think you are? This is all crazy. It can't be that easy. Psh, pshaw. Pshaw. It's so easy. It's so easy. So the heart, nestled there at the heart center, is extremely connected to source energy and truth, right? It's the barometer and navigator the barometer and navigator of sourcing higher consciousness information and insight and um, and inspiration, right? Inspiration moves us. Inspiration moves us. We get caught up in it and we feel it in the heart, right? So, again, in the mind, you might think things through, toss them around, play them out from your perspective. But, and I do that when I get insight for myself and my business, right? Is if I'm getting inspiration, I might then take it from my meditation time or my sitting with spirit time. And I might then take it throughout my day to chew on it and ruminate and ponder it and contemplate it in my walking state. Because I don't always meditate sitting in a chair. My bum gets tired or my hips start to ache and I like to move, right? So I do a lot of my stuff as a walking meditation or spirit throughout my day. I swear, this would be the funnest, uh, you know, whatever reality show if I let you in my mind while I was going through my day. Maybe I'll do that, like a little clips here and there. So, um, you always, even though the information would show up in your mind, right, psychically, you want to weigh it in your heart. You want to weigh it in your heart. Like, how does this feel? And then you'll get to a place where you'll know the vibration of truth. You'll know the vibration of when you're pulling back and being disconnected and unplugging from source energy or the truth or the wisdom or the insight or the inspiration that's coming to you, right? So all of these things, the vibration of truth will permeate your entire being, really spreading from its knowing, and you feel it. And you might have a visceral emotional response, um, and your clear sentiment, the emotional response will resonate in alignment with your potential goodness and joy. Even though it might be attached to something that you want. Don't think that you're mentally embellishing. You're embellishing because it's aligned with the desire you've always had. Dude, remember I wanted to be a psychic or a saint, and I knew I was supposed to talk on big stages and I'm supposed to go out in public in a bigger way. So when that came down in in a in a in a in several connecting moments to spirit, as now it's time, now it's time, now it's time. It was very frightening to me because I was like, oh my gosh, do I have the courage and all that? But it resonated. And so I knew it wasn't a mental embellishment of like, oh, you're just saying that to make me feel better, Constance. Or you're just saying that, or I'm getting that because I've always known it or wanted it. No, it's because it's aligning and resonating with you. And so a lot of what you're gonna get that you might be like, you might be tempted to be like, is that a mental embellishment? It's not a mental embellishment. It's going to align with your truth. You've known it your whole life. Your whole life has led to this moment. You're finally waking up and claiming it and stepping into your power and becoming who you are. That's your journey in life. Who you are is what you came to do, and so the best you possible. And so some of the stuff that we get in our meditation time that are directives of next steps in life, whether relationship or business or whatnot, are going to resonate. They're going to resonate completely, right? And why not have all your dreams and desires? Why not? Definitely, definitely co-create, manifest. And truly, 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 your heart center is where you're supposed to gravitate towards and open in this lifetime, right? This is where your truth resides. It's where it can be sourced. So it's always the first thing that comes up when you're sourcing for answers. It's your heart's going to know it. It won't be um, the information. You'll feel it in your heart. And so when people say, "Oh, how do I tune into my heart?" and what do you mean by that, Constance? And what do I mean by that, Spirit? I just mean it will resonate with it'll make you feel good. You'll feel expansion. You'll feel like maybe tearful. You'll feel goosebumps. You'll feel like, oh my God, this is right. You'll feel giddy. You'll feel peace. You'll feel joy, you know? And sometimes when you're getting information, and I've told you this before, that it's a half halt or you need to go back to that person and apologize, or you need to, and it's a need to or a should, that too can come from inner wisdom guidance, because things are weighing maybe heavy and you maybe didn't handle something well and you need to go back and you need to do over. Definitely claim a mulligan, man. I do all the time. I do all the time. I did it in reads, like I said a couple times, and I've done it in my personal life and professional life. Like, can we get together? I'm claiming a mulligan, taking a mulligan, a do-over. And so it helps us realign with the truth. And so if you come across mental embellishments, don't get caught up, right? Don't get upset with yourself. Welcome back. I think the biggest gift that I can remind you in regards to mental embellishments is to instead believe in yourself, be compassionate when you come across them, recognize where you went and diverted, and what was the ego kind of payback for it. Was it fear-based that you went there? Was it um, wanting to seem bigger and better than? Was it that you didn't trust the content or trust your ability to deliver it or trust that they were receiving it? And if it's the latter, that's why in my reads, I would often the information when I'm doing reads comes so fast. Was like, you can't take notes, you got to record this. It would come so fast and I would have to take a breath. I would ask Spirit, can I just take a drink of, water or coffee? Thanks for the coffee, by the way, espresso. um, can I just have a break to just take a minute? And in those seconds, I would say, do you understand what I'm saying? You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't understand what I'm saying. You aren't. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the messenger. And I'll take your question and go back to Spirit, and have them extrapolate on what was said or what came through, or, steps that would be co-creative and courageous for you at this point in your journey, or blocks that you're looking at. I was always like, let's go back. I'm just the messenger. So give yourself credit, right? Know that you have this ability. Otherwise, I wouldn't be teaching you. I'd be like, just still doing reads, man. I think we can all do this. I think we can all tap into, I know we can all tap into our power and connection to source and God, angels, loved ones on the other side, guides, each other, nature, animals, plant kingdom. And I know it will enhance your life. I know this. You can't just live from the senses of your physical awareness. I mean, you could, but once you start down this lane, it's so much more exciting and powerful. And it's an expression of who you are, really. And so mental embellishments can happen. Recognize how and when they do and why they do by being consciously aware and mindful in those moments. And don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. This is your personal journey. This is your exploration. This is your goosebumps. This is your research. Know thyself. Know thyself. Know thyself. So I'm looking at my notes. Is there anything else I want to tell you? You're gloriously unique. You're gloriously unique. And I believe in you. And you can get through those times that are sticky in this work or in your experiences with the soul senses. I did. You can too. You got this. Yeah. So you've been listening to Constance Messmer. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Legally speaking, this podcast is presented solely for educational, spiritual, and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for medical diagnosis, treatment, or the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem or condition. Always check with your doctor. Thank you.